Sprite is one of the most recognizable soft drinks in the world. That bright green can, the unmistakable lemon-lime flavor, and the refreshing fizz. It's a go-to drink, especially on a hot day. But while most people know what Sprite tastes like, few ever stop to wonder about the name itself. Sprite. It's short, catchy, and sounds kind of whimsical. But what does it actually mean? And where did it come from? Let's dive in, right here, on History of Simple Things. The word Sprite actually comes from the Latin word spiritus, meaning breath or spirit. Over time, it evolved through Old French and Middle English, eventually becoming Sprite, a word used to describe an elf, ghost, or supernatural being. Think of it like a cousin to the word spirit, but a bit lighter and more playful in tone. In folklore, sprites are often invisible or semi-visible creatures connected to nature. They're fast, elusive, and full of energy. And when you think about it, that actually aligns surprisingly well with the image the soft drink tries to project. Light, fizzy, energetic, and refreshing. It's not a bad metaphor, but did Coca-Cola really name a drink after a mythical creature? Or is this just a coincidence? To understand that, we have to rewind back to the late 1950s and early 1960s. At that time, Coca-Cola was noticing a rise in the popularity of clear lemon-lime sodas, especially 7-Up, which had been dominating that category for years. Coke needed a competitor. So in 1961, the company launched a new drink in the United States. It was crisp, citrusy, caffeine-free, and clear. That drink was Sprite. But here's the twist. Sprite wasn't originally invented by Coca-Cola in the US. It actually started in Germany in 1959, where it was known as Fanta Clara Zitrone, which translates to Clear Lemon Fanta. It was part of the Fanta line, but when Coca-Cola saw its potential, they decided to bring it to the American market under a new name, and that's where things get interesting. When Coca-Cola needed a name for this new lemon-lime soda, they didn't pull Sprite out of thin air. The name had already existed, just not as a drink. Sprite was actually a character in Coca-Cola advertising as early as the 1940s. He was a little elf-like figure, part of a campaign called Sprite Boy, created to help humanize the Coca-Cola brand. Sprite Boy had big eyes, white hair, and a mischievous smile. He appeared in Coke ads wearing a soda jerk hat, often alongside Santa Claus. So, when it came time to name their new drink, Coca-Cola already had a word in their branding vault: Sprite. It was familiar, playful, and tied to an image of something fun and energetic. Even though Sprite Boy wasn't directly related to the lemon-lime drink, the name fit. It had that spark of magic, that lightness, and it was catchy. So yes, Sprite is technically named after a mythical creature, but filtered through a lens of marketing creativity. It wasn't about folklore or ancient legends, it was about vibe. Sprite sounded fun. It gave off energy, movement, refreshment. All the things Coca-Cola wanted this new drink to represent. The name wasn't random. It was intentional, but not in the sense of honoring ancient mythology. It was about creating a personality that would stick. This kind of branding isn't unusual. In fact, many companies use mythical or magical terms to create an emotional connection with their audience. Think about Nike, named after the Greek goddess of victory, or Amazon, named to suggest vastness and abundance. In Sprite's case, the name suggests something light, cool, and effervescent, exactly what you'd want from a soft drink. Over time, the name Sprite has taken on a life of its own. It no longer just means a mythical being. For millions of people, it means lemon lime soda. But that magical vibe has always stayed in the background. Look at Sprite's marketing campaigns over the years. They often emphasize clarity, freshness, and a sort of coolness that feels effortless. Whether it's hip-hop stars endorsing the drink in the 90s or the "Obey Your Thirst" slogan, Sprite has always leaned into a youthful, spontaneous image, very Sprite-like in a way. Even though the original folklore meaning has faded into the background, the brand still captures that essence. The soda doesn't need wings or fairy dust to be magical. It just needs to feel like something different, something light and electric. So, was it named after a mythical creature? In the most literal sense, yes. Sprite as a word comes from the same root as spirit and has long been used to describe fairies, elves, and other worldly beings. Coca-Cola didn't invent the term, they borrowed it. But it wasn't a nod to mythology. It was more of a smart branding move that happened to have mythological roots. The name Sprite just happened to carry the kind of energy and fun they were looking for. So while it's not like Coca-Cola sat around reading fairy tales when naming the drink, they did tap into something timeless, a word that evokes imagination, lightness, and sparkle, much like the drink itself. Sprite is more than just a lemon-lime soda. It's a global brand with a name that traces its roots all the way back to ancient stories of spirits and supernatural beings. Coca-Cola may have chosen it for its fun and energetic sound, but that choice also carries echoes of mythology and magic. So next time you crack open a cold Sprite, just remember, you're sipping something that, in a small way, connects to centuries of legend and language. That's pretty refreshing too. The story of Sprite's name is a great example of how language, branding, and culture intersect. Sometimes a name can carry more meaning than we realize, not because it was meant to be deep, but because words have history. When we say Sprite, we're not just talking about soda, we're also touching on centuries of language evolution and folklore, even if just a little. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the history of simple things. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories woven through the smallest details.